Just when you thought you couldn't get enough of Sportswire Radio, I am back for round number 3 today. There are some people in their lifetime that probably have not even done 2 rounds in a podcast, or maybe never even done one period. But we are back here on Sportswire Radio for a good reason here. I don't know if it's the best for last, but I think it'll actually be one of the more interesting ones we've had here for last because our guest here has got quite a story. You've seen him bounce around here in the independent wrestling scene in the great state of Alabama. And of course, we love the great state of Alabama, not just for Auburn football, not just Alabama football. I'm not going to certainly bring that up to Hillbilly Tilly or ADT. But our guest here tonight, some would say, is the next little big man in the business, but for good reasons. You've seen him in a number of different places, like Spartan Pro Wrestling. You've seen him also in certainly All-Star Wrestling, High Voltage Pro, and where I've probably seen him most, then it's the Alliance Wrestling League. In the Alliance Wrestling League, he has been there, and he calls himself the underdog of the AWL. He used to go under a different name, but he's got a new name. He's going to tell us why he shares the same name as a famous crime series that was once also starred by a famous guy in the South who's no longer with us. And I'm going to ask him if he's related to Matlock, but I'm certainly sure there'll be a lot more interesting things other than me asking him about Matlock. But I'm going to ask him about a slew of things coming up because there's some big shows ahead coming up here. Number one, for the Alliance Wrestling, that is Endgame. Endgame is taking place here at the end of the month. You'll see it in the month of July. And also Spartan Wrestling has a big show coming up here also at the end of the month. So we'll ask our guest here about that, plus whatever else in his journey. But since we are on Sportswire Radio and we're in prime time on the brightest lights of the biggest stage, and there is no platform that is truly about all wrestling matters like this one, I want to give our guest that resounding introduction that so many in the Alliance Wrestling have gotten, such as the likes of, I don't know, Seth Maverick, who was here last week, a guy that's going to be here next Friday. It's in our Hall of Fame, ADT, and the kingpin of certainly backyard wrestling, and now going into independent wrestling. And also there's a guy, a war criminal, Dylan Andrews, and he's obviously been here many times. And how about a guy that's in our Hall of Fame, Hillbilly Tilly, who always uses the quote that I like to say most, in that those who do it in the yard and elsewhere do it for the love of this sport of wrestling and put their blood, sweat, and tears out there. And I have no doubt that our guest is waiting. Yeah. He wants to hear that introduction. I'm going to give it to him because, after all, we are all Wrestling Matters here on Sportswire Radio. We are still in prime time. I want to do it because I'm on round 3, and let's get right to it. So with that, wait for it. Further ado, here on the Sports Report, number one, Global Sports Show. They call him the next little big man in the business. He's the underdog of the AWL. His name is C.T. My friend, welcome aboard.
Thank you, Tom. I'm glad to be here. I appreciate you having me on your platform, man.
I appreciate that, and obviously somebody's already asked, but I couldn't pass out. Well, this is the third of those intros, and I have been on here 3 times, and I want to put it out there. There is no platform like this one. There is no other person like this. You know, I got to say it because I want to get this off my chest, CT Matlock. You know, some people go on podcasts and they get interviewed and they ask people, oh, well, what's your favorite WWE cosplay gimmick? Or what's your favorite fantasy booking? Or what did you think about Busted Open? Or they ask you about something that's completely unrelated to what you do. But on this platform, this is not just an interview. This is not just a podcast. We're actually a live internet radio station. But also, most importantly, going to listen to a Sportswire show is like going to a concert. I say my intros are the equivalent of like Tom Brady on the football field, Michael Jackson when he put on the glove, Michael Jackson in his prime, LeBron James when he was winning championships, Kobe Bryant when he was alive. When you think about movies, it was almost like John Wick, The Equalizer. You think about all the great killers. You think about Taylor Swift right now in her concerts. But that's like what it is here, coming to Sportswire. But, there's a lot to talk about.
Right.
CT Matlock, I want to ask you, though, the burning question for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, and especially for those that are fans of the Alliance Wrestling League. Why are you the name now CT Matlock?
Man, that's a really good question. My reason being is back when I was about 12 years old, I had my own backyard trampoline wrestling YouTube channel called HTWF Wrestling. And Cobalt was my character that I created all those years ago. So whenever I started making the move into working for AWL, I just had a funny feeling that I needed to revive that name, revive that character in order to kind of get myself back in that backyard style mindset, to get myself back in that place that I needed to be to get back in the yard. But the reason why I really wanted to change my name and go off my new professional persona is because the links that AWL is going to make their show better, to improve the quality of their videos, to improve the quality of their wrestling, I feel like I just needed to step up my game and introduce to the AWL universe my professional persona, the name that I go by at Spartan Pro Wrestling and any of the other independent promotions that I work at.
All-Star Wrestling.
Yes, absolutely. I just felt like I needed to take that next step to bring that next level of my person, my character, in order to kind of be the next top guy in the AWL.
What do you carry then from those places that has made the decision? You certainly talked about a number of different places. Obviously, we'll go back in time. We'll revisit the past. But what have you carried from there that made the decision that much easier?
Man, it just the quality of the wrestling that I do under the name CT Matlock is just completely different than what I could do as Cobalt. All the different techniques and strategies and in-ring awareness and everything that I've taken from the independents in order to bring over to AWL, to me it just felt right, and to become CT Matlock here and to just make that change, that transition. And I'm very glad that I did so, because I feel like AWL is about to see a whole new different side of me that they have not yet seen before.
And AWL is obviously going through its own changes, and it's kind of a coincidence that you made this name change while the AWL, like you said, a year ago, it was a year ago around this time that I interviewed ADT for the first time. We were talking about the Alliance. Right. It was a company that obviously was on the mat outside, and now it's progressed to where we've obviously gone inside. We have a ring outside, but we're also going inside. We have the show, obviously, at Gold Rush, the Spartan Arena, and then we've also got the shows we had with ROEW. So in a way, it's kind of coincidence that you're making the change while AWL is going through also a pretty drastic and cosmetic change that seems like I think most people agree is for the better. So talk to me about the coincidence there.
Man, it's just, what can I say? The sheer lengths that AWL are taking to make themselves more of a professional, independent style company. I just wanted to bring my professionalism into that as well and really help them out. And man, I'm just so proud of everything that AWL is doing, despite any beef that I have with anybody there, anything going on. I'm just straight up proud of all these guys and how hard they're working. I mean, they went from a blue mat to an entire 16-foot ring.
Not even in a year. Listen, not even.
I know it. It's absolutely insane. It's insane what they're doing, and I just felt like in order to give them the best quality wrestling and best quality performance that I could, then I needed to be that professional character as they're transitioning into their more professional outlook as well, and just really put the work in to make them noticed as more of a professional independent style company.
Let me ask you a question. We're certainly going to talk about a lot in the Alliance Wrestling. I have a bunch of links I'm going to put up here in the screen. I'm going to get to comments. I'm going to hang on to them for a second, but let me ask you an out-of-character question. In that you've obviously been training, you've obviously been in the independents for a little while. It's a roster where you've got a mix of guys that have obviously are kind of like you. You've also got a mix of guys that are sort of making the transition also from the yard to pro.
Correct.
Have you been a guy that's either been solicited for advice or have you been giving advice freely to some of those guys that are trying to make the transition from yard to pro?
Oh, absolutely, man. Because in this day and age, all these guys they're having to work really hard. They're on weird job schedules. Not a lot of them are able to make it to all these different training programs and all the stuff that we do in our professional training. So I'm glad that I'm able to come over and help them. And I give them advice all the time. I do the best I can to help them, to teach them in order to be more professional workers, because we're not just trying to be professional wrestlers, we're trying to be good workers. And I'm trying to just take everything that I'm learning and transition it over to the guys that need it over at AWL, because every single one of them, I mean every single last one, have the potential to be great professional wrestlers. And time and work, it makes it difficult for some of the guys to be able to get into it as much as I'm into it. And, I'm just thankful and happy and grateful that I'm able to help these guys, follow their dream until they're eventually able to get to a spot where they can go and get the professional training and quality time and work that they need to become independent professional wrestlers.
Absolutely, no question about that. And again, I cannot say enough good things about the Alliance Wrestling. And I want to thank,
Absolutely.
obviously, Sky Felton and Hillbilly Tilly. What a fantastic job that they have been doing. And they have really gone out there and
Incredible.
what they have done, their hard work, it certainly doesn't go unnoticed here on this platform. And I want to ask
Right.
you, though, a different question. And what does it mean to you then to be a part of the Alliance Wrestling League at the moment?
Man, it means a lot to see all these guys making this transition and growing as people and growing as wrestlers, coming from what they started with. I got into it a little bit later than most of the guys, but I was on that blue mat with them. I was able to wrestle on that mat and see, where they were, and from the time that we started to the time that we're at now, wrestling in professional venues, wrestling in an actual pro wrestling ring. Man, it's just been an incredible journey, and I'm very happy to be a part of it continuing forward. And I just can't wait to see what the Alliance Wrestling League is going to turn into in the years to come.
No question about that. That's obviously the YouTube channel. Let's help those who support us in
Yep.
the Alliance Wrestling. Have been great friends to us on Sportswire Radio, and they're almost at 500 subscribers. So let's help them get there. They've got some big shows coming up. They recently just had another big episode that was put out there. Check that out. That's CT Matlock. That's all of his pages here on social media. And let's
Give
certainly
me those
support
follows, guys.
we got to get him out there. We'll definitely come back to some of that stuff. But, I do want to talk about the Alliance Wrestling League in terms of you for a second, because, obviously you've been out there in the independents. I'll pull up some links of yours. I'll pull up some matches. But, in the Alliance Wrestling League, is part of the name change also in the fact that the success has been, let's just say, middle of the road at best. It's certainly, we've had
Yeah.
other people that have been on here, Seth Maverick, and he at least tasted gold for a brief period. Obviously, ADT. I mean, I'm going to definitely talk a lot about him. He's in my Hall of Fame. I own a shirt of
Right.
his. Other guys, Dylan Andrews, AJ Morgan, another guy, AJ Morgan, who's making the transition. I mean, a lot of these guys have been on here,
Yes.
and they've had a lot of success, but they've had more success than you. And what do you think
You're
you're
right.
going to do in order to change kind of the results here, where at best, I would say at AWL, they're kind of middling?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm not one to be ashamed of it. My win-loss record is not that great right now. But moving forward, I plan to bring my professional style into the backyard, into the AWL ring, because the style that Cobalt wrestled and the style that CT Matlock wrestles are completely different. Completely, I mean, not even close to the same level. I'm just ready to come in and show everybody who the underdog of AWL really is. I'm ready to show them that I am the next biggest little man. And I'm telling you that I'm going to be the NEW, that what that stands for is the never ending workhorse. I'm going to be the never ending workhorse of AWL, whether I'm holding that gold or not.
Interesting. Well, wouldn't that mean you'd be setting your sights on, I don't know, the current champion and Hacksaw Brown, and that title's changed hands like hot potato? Tyson Gates, Seth Maverick, Hacksaw Brown, ADT held the title, and we saw what he did with that championship. I'll certainly come back to him, but
Yeah.
does that mean then you're setting your sights on one Hacksaw Brown?
You're absolutely right. I have been in the talks with our general manager for a couple of weeks now. I have been out for a few weeks. I have not been able to make it to the AWL shows just due to the fact of other promotions and other things that I've had to take care of.
Sure.
But come in game, have been in talks with our general manager, and I have been approved for a contract for the new division championship at in game against Hacksaw Brown.
So it looks like we have breaking news for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire. We will see it coming up here at Endgame. It's going to be you and also Hacksaw Brown for that new division championship. And we're going to see that obviously take place. You go to the Alliance Wrestling League YouTube channel, Instagram, X, TikTok, Facebook, all social media platforms where you can find out information on the Alliance Wrestling League. So that's obviously a championship, the never-ending workhorse, and that's kind of who you are in a way. Yep. I mean, thinking about it here, you're a guy obviously wrestling all over the place, and that championship means something extra to you then, huh?
It really does. I mean, all my life, I've just wanted to be that underdog. I've wanted to be that guy. You know, I grew up always being an extremely small guy. You can probably tell through the camera, but in real life,
quite a bit. Yes, I've seen you. Man, I wasn't going to say anything.
I'm only. You're all good. I am only 5'2". I'm 110 pounds. I'm a very small dude. So, I mean, it's been my mission basically at growing up, wanting to be a professional wrestler in order to be that underdog, to be that workhorse, to prove to everybody that it doesn't matter how big or small you are, you can still do it. I mean, I never once thought in my life that I was actually going to be doing this. I had the dream my entire life growing up. I mean, professional wrestling quite literally is my very first memory. I remember looking up the TV and seeing the blue WCW ring with yellow ropes. I mean, I couldn't tell you who was wrestling. I couldn't tell you what was going on. Very, very. And I just remember, I mean, I couldn't have been more than a year or two old. But I just have that memory. And all my life, I just wanted to be a professional wrestler. And one day I just woke up and I decided, you know, I'm going to make myself become the next biggest little man in professional wrestling.
So who were the people then that you were influenced by going into? You obviously talked about WCW. You talked about that old ring, that old logo. You're 5'2". So I'm imagining who I think would be some of those influences. But for the audience out there, talk about maybe some of the wrestlers that influenced you.
Man, this one's kind of generic. Everybody can guess it, but it is the absolute truth that Rey Mysterio has been my biggest motivation.
That's kind of what I hinted at.
Yeah, exactly, man. I'm telling you, like I said, when I was younger, I've always been a really small guy, and professional wrestling has always been a love of mine. So seeing Rey get in that ring and really change the mold of what a professional wrestler should look like gave me that confidence and that hope that I could do it too. I mean, if it wasn't for Rey Mysterio breaking into the WWE and the big leagues and WCW, I mean, guys like me would have had no chance making it, because if you weren't 6'5", 200-something pounds, you weren't going to make it in the business, you know? So, I mean, I remember having a Rey Mysterio DVD called The Biggest Little Man, and I watched that every single day over and over and over again, and it just imprinted it into my head, into my brain, that I was going to be that next biggest little man, no matter what it took.
Let me ask you a question in terms of, let's say, that in particular. You know, you obviously mentioned Rey Mysterio, and did that give you confidence that, you know what, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to go out and want to be out there and wrestle? How big you think was that an influence on you, just in particular? Because again, like you said, and this is CT Matlock's Instagram, go follow him, but you know, you mentioned a lot there, and I'm curious for the audience, just how big of an impact did that have on you, and without even you knowing it?
I mean, it's almost hard to put into words. It almost makes me emotional to think about, because I mean, Rey Mysterio became that hero that I needed growing up, you know. And
well, don't cry really, on me on Sportswire. You know, we're in prime time. You know, we're live. Don't cry on me. Listen,
I'm telling you, man, I make this
match. I'm gonna come back to that. You got to be strong with me. You got to be with me here, because this is prime time. You know,
man. Professional wrestling, it gets me emotional, man. It gets me emotional. It's my one true love.
and I could see it, and that's what I love about this sport is that it gives people an
Absolutely.
opportunity. And there's no question, Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio. I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to come back to the match, but I'm going to help you out here. Rey Mysterio, no question that there's guys I speak with all over the world, whether they're big, they're small, love him because of his heart. There's no question I could see you
Absolutely.
have a heart that's going to certainly lead you to a slew of other places coming up here, and especially at Endgame. I'm going to get to comments shortly in
Absolutely.
a second, but I want to ask you one more question before I go
Go
back
for it.
into Endgame. What did it mean to you to compete for the AWL Heavyweight Championship?
Man, that was a crazy experience because the moment I walked into that ring and I saw that heavyweight championship held above, I just thought back to when Rey Mysterio won his heavyweight championship. And although I didn't come out with a win, it made me confident that even though I'm a small guy, I'm still making waves enough to be able to put into the heavyweight title picture. I mean, even at these other companies that I've been at, I've been in heavyweight title matches, and it's just an absolute mind-boggling thing to think about that somebody my size has made such an impact that I've made my way into a heavyweight title picture, because otherwise I just don't know how that could have possibly happened. But I'm telling you, man, it's been a crazy journey.
What do you take away from that experience?
Man, Travis Hunt was a very tough opponent. I learned my lessons. I learned some strategy, and all I can take away from that is that I need to work harder. I need to give it my all. He may have put me down, but I'm going to get back up. And it doesn't matter who puts me down. I'm going to get back up. I will keep coming back. And there's nothing that's going to stop me. And one day I'm going to hold all the gold that I can.
Well, we're going to certainly come back to that. And I have actually something for you I want to put back on the screen. I want to talk to you more about that. But before I do that, let me say hello to a bunch of people. Mr. Atomic Titan, who is here on Sunday's show, and
All
he is a hardcore king, another shorter individual, but he certainly hasn't been bothered at all by his size because he's got a hardcore championship, and hardcore wrestlers from all over the scene don't seem to phase him one bit. Yes, 3 interviews in one day. I don't know how I'm doing it, but I do it because that's what it's all about. Hello, I'm a big fan. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yes,
and hello, Atomic Titan as well. Thank you for that. Hillbilly Tilly says finally the main event it was a triple header day, and Hillbilly Tilly was here for the entire day. I mean, there were certain people that were here all day on Sportswire, and Howdy CT as well. And want to say hello to management. Good evening, gentlemen. And I want to say hello to my very good friend, Mr. Ox McCoy. Deathmatch and hardcore stand, a man that figuratively and literally lives in blood. He reigns in bloods. He drinks, eats, bathes, talks all in blood. And he is my new buddy, your buddy. He's in the ring for the IMF coming up on their show, Summer Heat, on June 22nd. And that's really him. And he really is bleeding. And I bet I can't pass out. Of course not. I got to catch up and keep up with you, Ox McCoy, because you're living a message in blood. You're reigned in blood. But, I want to come to serious talk for a second, because a man that you've been in the ring with, that you've certainly had some issues with, Victor Thorne, wants to say this. You interview the Keebler Elf of Alabama wrestling and not the Bishop of Brutality. What kind of show am I running? Well, I'll say this, Mr. Thorne. It's very nice to meet you, but as far as I checked, I haven't received any messages from you to come onto this platform. But what I will say, Mr. Thorne, the floor is open anytime for you to come onto Sportswire Radio. And if you'd like to come to primetime on the brightest lights of the biggest stage, the only platform where all wrestling matters, the only platform where the likes of Jimmy Controversy and Gabe Sayers, who just wrestled in the main event of GTS Wrestling against some guy Grimm, who only has 1.3 million subscribers, you're more than welcome to come here, and you're more than welcome to show Kid why you might be the Bishop of Brutality. But I'll leave that out for a second. But I'll let you, Mr. Matlock, address what Mr. Thorne has called you. It is that you are the Keebler Elf of Alabama wrestling. What do you like to say toward that?
Well, he's not necessarily wrong. Hey, he's not wrong. I mean,
really?
I have a pretty small guy. I can't.
Opponent? Okay, tell me why.
Hey, man, it's all good. I don't really care what anybody has to say. It doesn't matter until we get in that ring and he proves to me why he can beat me, or the reason that he can put me down. I don't think he has what it takes. And
He put down Jacob Collins, who was the ROEW heavyweight
He put
champion.
down Jacob Collins.
Jacob
He
Collins
did. But hey, I'm a lot
elite.
faster than he is. You're
But
right.
Jacob,
You're right.
but Jacob
Hey, he's
Collins,
got the strength. He's got the power.
right? But Jacob Collins has won multiple world titles. He put him down with rather convincing fashion.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. He had to put a little work in, but I guarantee you he's gonna have to put a little more work in with me.
All right, well, we'll see. He's the bishop of brutality, and like I said, he's got an axe to grind. And speaking to people who are going to be here next Friday night live in primetime, it is the man that is the kingpin. He is the current AWL heavyweight champion of the world. And what do you want to say toward the champ?
Hey, man, all I got to say is I'd like to catch you in the ring one more time.
You sure, though?
Oh, I'm absolutely sure. Title match or not, I want to get back with him in the ring because the match that we put on was incredible. He put me down. He won.
It was a great match.
Yes, absolutely. And the competition was incredible. And I honestly, regardless of the beef that we have or not, I'm excited to get back in the ring with him because we put on bangers every single time.
What kind of champion, in your opinion, is ADT?
Man, I'll tell you what, he's a great champion. He's not a good guy. I don't necessarily like him all that much, but hey, I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Right. You're exactly right. Yeah, I don't really like ADT all that much, but I'll tell you what, man, he's put AWL on his back and he's carried it with pride, and he's carried that championship with pride, and he's defended it with pride. And I can't say enough about him. He's a great champion, and I can't wait to get back in the ring with him.
Let me ask you a different question. And I know that AWL is transitioning away from the yard, but there's a lot of talk of different champions amongst the yard. As a matter of fact, earlier on this show today, we actually had on an appearance, a cameo, you might want to say, of the current Tennessee backyard wrestling champion, Jay Wild. And we've had on a slew of other champions recently, and one of them is Mr. Jack Delta, who works for ROEW. You guys just shared a locker room with them. But let me ask you, though, your opinion. Is ADT the best and the most dominant heavyweight champion right now in the yard or in the underground? Is that a fair question for me to ask you? And what do you think on that? Is ADT right now the best backyard and underground wrestling world heavyweight champion?
I will give him the benefit of that doubt. He is one tough guy, and I do guarantee you that out of any world champion, any heavyweight champion in the yard, that he can give them an easy run for their money.
Well, we obviously know the history there in ROEW, and we were supposed to have seen what could be now would be a champion versus champion match. And, we've obviously seen a slew of other people that have come on here, but ADT is certainly the kingpin. He's the kingpin for a reason. I'd like to certainly say hello to somebody actually that you did share a locker room with, and he's everywhere. He's been in Tennessee backyard wrestling on their show. He was in Massachusetts for the NEW's Underground Riot in the Ring. He is also a part of, obviously, Resurrection Wrestling as their internet champion. He is the energy of wrestling, and he's the man that everybody says is about to replace Jack Delta, and that's none other than Mr. D'Angelo the Flame. And talk to me about your experiences of working with D'Angelo the Flame and sharing a locker room with him.
Man, in all honesty, I don't have enough good things to say about him. When they call him the energy of wrestling, I mean, that is spot on. I mean, the energy that he brought to the arena, to the ring, was absolutely incredible. I mean, it was an honor to share the ring with him. I didn't get to be in there very long in the ring, but what I did see was some incredible work, and he's a great guy in the locker room, great guy to talk to, and I hope to share the locker room again with him one day.
How big of a deal do you think it was for the Alliance Wrestling League to have had D'Angelo the Flame at Gold Rush in that Rumble and then be able to wrestle and defend the Resurrection Pro Wrestling Internet Championship on your platform? How big do you think that was? Not only maybe for the Alliance Wrestling League, but really for the yard and the underground.
Man, I think it was a great opportunity. I mean, I was extremely happy to see him make his way in. I mean, I understand that he's known all throughout the country from doing all these backyard shows. I know how popular he is, and I think it was great that AWL brought him in because I mean, you saw how Gold Rush turned out. You saw
Absolutely.
how many views and I mean, dude, he's a great guy, and I'm extremely happy that he was brought into AWL. It
I can
was a
honestly
huge
say,
deal.
yeah, I can honestly say in the last, I don't know, 8 months, I think I first met him on this platform. Yeah, I would say about maybe 7 months ago, something like that. I don't know, whatever it was, right? And I would say of all the people that have come on this platform, he's probably the guy that has grown the most. And he's the one guy that almost every promotion that comes on this platform, they know who he is. There's other people
Yeah,
you don't have
absolutely.
to think about it, but everybody knows him because of what this young man has done in the ring. He's a special talent. He's a guy that's going to go even further, and I don't know where the eventual quote unquote end game is for him, but I have no doubt that he is definitely
Right.
on a mission to really unite backyard and underground wrestling. And he's doing, again, he's opening doors, he's breaking through them, and he's helping a lot of places
Yes, he
really,
is.
get a lot of new fans, a lot of new interest. And I think that quote unquote speaks volumes to what Hillbilly Tilly and Sky Felton did, and working with Joseph Tibbs and Ronnie Brady over at Resurrection Wrestling to make a difference and bring him in. And
Right.
obviously, our dear friends in Tennessee Backyard Wrestling for their relationship with him. And obviously, our friends over in NEW Underground Wrestling with Jake Matthews and Justin Abel Saint who have hosted him. And I have no doubt we're going to see him in many other places. And I want people to support that young man. And I agree with Hillbilly Tilly. He is definitely answering questions like a real pro. I got a good question from one of my buddies in the great state of Tennessee for the Underground Wrestling Alliance, and we've got more coverage with them coming up next Sunday because their world heavyweight champion is here, CJ, and he's wrestled Jack Delta, and Jack Delta works for ROEW, which obviously you guys housed on Showdown not too long ago. And let me ask you though, in terms of this, what's your favorite memory so far, a match in the Independence?
Man, what can I say? Probably my very first match against Joshua O'Hagan. I debuted for the championship at Spartan Pro Wrestling that I wanted to go for from the beginning, the middleweight championship. And just the very moment that I stepped in that ring for the very first time in front of that crowd, I mean, I don't think there's anything that can compare to that. And especially for being for the title that I wanted to wrestle for from the very beginning, because I remember sitting out in that crowd for about at least 2 years, just watching and watching and just thinking to myself, I think I want to be here. I think this is the place that I need to go. And that middleweight championship was always in the back of my mind, like that's what I wanted to have. That's what I wanted to win. And my debut match was only 2 months after my initial training began, which is very abnormal.
Very
It's not
hard. Yeah,
normal
that's
for
something that
guys to
doesn't happen to
exactly
everybody. That does not
right,
happen.
right. I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, it was just incredible that I got that opportunity that early to step in the ring, especially in a title match. I mean, against one of my greatest idols, I guess you could say, Joshua O'Hagan. Over time at Spartan, he's become one of my greatest enemies, but in the beginning, he was one of my greatest idols. And to be able to step in that ring for my debut match for that championship against him was absolutely surreal.
I think it's almost the expression you always remember your first. It doesn't matter whatever you do.
Yes,
I've interviewed a lot,
absolutely.
I interviewed a lot of baseball players, a lot of guys that were major league baseball players, guys that played at a very
Yeah,
high level in the minor leagues like AAA, and they always told me it's the first one you remember. It's the first hit, the first strikeout. If you're a pitcher, it's the first
yeah,
home run, whatever it is, and that's your first match. And also, if you want to buy some merchandise from the Alliance Wrestling League, this is their T Public page. So you want to certainly get some merchandise, help out the company,
check
help
it
them. We
out.
got a list of great. You got a CT Matlock shirt is here. That's right there. You got Victor Thorne. You got Seth Maverick, who was here last week. Hacksaw Brown coming back to him. Hillbilly Tilly. I mean, you got them all pretty much. So if you want to buy shirts, you
Yep,
can do that here. And that's the best way to support our wrestlers, support our community. CT has helped our product
absolutely.
immensely and has been selfless in all the hard work that he's put in. It looks to me like maybe
Thank you.
Mr. Hacksaw Brown certainly has something to say. It looks like that could be maybe Hacksaw Brown. He says you're going to get your shortcomings. Maybe Mr. Brown is here. I'll get to Mr. Brown. I'll get to Mr. Brown. Don't you worry about it. I'll get to him. Also, I'll admit it. I talked shit about CT, but this man is an insane athlete who's given me my best matches and has brought it more than a majority of the talent in the AWL. I think that's pretty well said, pretty well stated, and thank you for that.
Thank you, ADT.
JD Mercer says 619, and that's obviously the code for not just the San Diego area code. That's
Yes,
also Rey
sir.
Mysterio. So let me get to a couple
That's
things here
right.
first. Obviously, it
You
seems
good?
like I'll get to Mr. Brown. He's definitely, not a fan of you. I could tell Mr. Hacksaw Brown. I would think it's Mr. Brown, but who knows? But maybe it is a Hunter Beast. But I
Not
want
too
to say
sure.
hello to
Not
my
too
very
sure.
good friend, who's basically at this point could be my co-host, the man that could probably replace me. We probably get more views. That's Mr. Anthony Steele, the real deal Anthony Steele, who works in Resurrection Wrestling. Now, the irony of that, he shares a locker room with D'Angelo LaFlame. Obviously, Anthony Steele was kind of in a way like
Right.
D'Angelo LaFlame, and he's also worked in NOCW in the Independents and some other places, and he worked in Indiana where careers
Right.
die. Thankfully, in Alabama, careers don't die in Alabama if you go to Alabama, but Anthony is here. Anthony is kind of basically the man that'll probably take over for me on Sportswire Radio very soon, but he wants to say hello, and
I hear
he
that.
also is on the same journey
How you
as
doing,
you,
Anthony?
a yard guy going into the Indies. Mr.
That's
Thorne would
awesome.
like to say, though, all these matches you've claimed to have against all these champions and all these other competitors, let me ask you, CT Matlock, how many of those matches did you win? That kind of does, to be fair, what I talked about in your record in AWL and elsewhere. I mean, what would you like to say to that
Yeah.
claim?
Hey, man, I didn't win any of those matches. He's right. He's pointing out the obvious. I did not win, but you got to think I'm less than a year into my career, and I've already been in heavyweight title matches, middleweight title matches, cage matches. I've been in all kinds of things, and
Gauntlet
I'm
matches,
still
you've been in the
learning.
gauntlet matches, obviously.
Yes, absolutely. I'm still learning. I'm still figuring myself out. I'm still on the way to greatness, and just because my win-loss record isn't that good right now, you just wait till about 5-10 years from now, you're gonna see me at the top.
What would you say, though, to the line, though, that you were in those matches, no question, but it can be brought up that you're in the match, but you didn't win. What does it mean?
He's right.
Talk to me.
It just means I got to put in some more work, man. I mean, I'm still young. I'm still trying to figure myself out. I'm still trying to learn everything that I can, and I'm nowhere near my maximum potential. I'm still way down here, and I'm still learning. But it doesn't matter if I didn't win. I'd like to ask him how many heavyweight title matches, how many middleweight title matches, how many other matches that he's been in, because I've been in a lot more. Just because I haven't won, I'm still in the picture.
Okay, but some would say, though, conversely, that if you don't win, I mean, that's what some would say, that you didn't win. I mean, listen, people
Right.
look at it and say the Buffalo Bills went to 4 straight Super Bowls but didn't win. The Florida Panthers in hockey this year in the Stanley Cup Finals for the second time. If they don't win this year, people don't remember that they were the runner-ups. I mean, we've seen it all the time in
That's
sports.
right.
I mean, people don't remember the runner-ups. I mean, Michigan wins the national championship this year, but the past few years prior, nobody remembered that Michigan lost in the BCS. I mean, you can go up and down the list
Right.
of stories in sports where people kind of don't remember who's the runner-up. So you eventually have to win one of these. We're going to come back to that for sure. I'm going to come back. I have something I want to put up on the screen. But you obviously must have somebody that's not a fan of yours, because obviously, I don't even know if it's an opponent of yours, but there's obviously somebody, I don't know if you've shared a locker room with, or somebody that's not a fan of yours, but obviously they're kind of addressing you in that way. Anthony Steele, though, says you could be a world champion. You never know. Listen, you definitely could never
I
know.
appreciate that.
I got a bunch more comments here. Let me try to work people in. Hello to
You're
Travis
good,
Hunt.
man.
Travis Hunt is another guy
What's up,
who was the former champion. And what's your opinion on Travis Hunt?
Man, he's a great guy. I mean, he was a great champion while it lasted. I had a great match with him in the ring. Came up short, just like all the other times, but hey, that's all right. I learned some lessons. I learned some new strategy. I'm starting to figure everybody out in the Alliance Wrestling League, and once I get that leg up, I'm telling you, it's over.
Okay, I got something else here. Anthony Steele says, who do I hit up to get a match with this guy? Well, I'm going to actually handle that for you, Anthony, and that would be over at the Alliance Wrestling League, and that would be Mr. Hillbilly Tilly. And I'll certainly
Right.
put that link up here shortly. So if you actually want to get in touch with the Alliance Wrestling League, you can do that right here. So I would assume, Anthony, that the way to get in touch with the Alliance Wrestling League is to come up here, and that's their Instagram page. So we know that Resurrection Wrestling
Yep.
works very well with the Alliance Wrestling League, and obviously Anthony is a part of the Resurrection Wrestling roster. So I'm sure that Hillbilly Tilly and Joseph Tibbs, I'm sure, could cut a deal. And Anthony, I'm sure everybody knows Anthony's on Sportswire. So that would be my answer. So hopefully that comes up back up here. But I do want to take this
Absolutely.
off the screen first. And I actually do have some breaking news, but it's not involving you. So let me pull this up on the screen and let me come back to something here that Hillbilly Tilly would like to say. And he would say, since Victor Thorne is watching, he's got a match at Endgame. And now, apparently, this is big. Now, he's not wrestling you at Endgame because we know your opponent. I'm going to come back to your opponent. But we have
Correct.
breaking news here. Speaking about breaking through the forbidden door and obviously working with obviously different people, we've also got it here. Well, I'm going to put it up on the screen for those that are listening and watching on Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters. And it looks like here we go again because he's back. He's back. That's right. D'Angelo LaFlame is back in the Alliance Wrestling League, and he's going to be wrestling Victor Thorne coming up at Endgame. You don't get breaking news like this
Wow.
anywhere else on Sportswire Radio, where figuratively and literally
Incredible.
all wrestling matters. We are going to see the Bishop of Brutality against the Energy of Wrestling, D'Angelo LaFlame versus Victor Thorne in a dream match. I mean, listen, we just saw D'Angelo LaFlame defeat Alan Michaels, of course, the host of the Staying Trendy show, the Trendsetter, my co-host Friday nights on Sportswire Radio. And we just saw D'Angelo LaFlame wrestle here, obviously, in Gold Rush. He was on a couple of different episodes.
Right.
He was just in the Riot in the Ring. His first round opponent there is Leonidas. I mean, he is everywhere. We have seen him wrestle Max Chaotic, who was a part of the Prophecy. The Prophecy is obviously now holding the Tennessee Backyard Wrestling World Heavyweight Championship. And who knows where else D'Angelo LaFlame shows up, but he's showing up right here in the great state of Alabama, coming up at Endgame against Victor
Incredible.
Thorne for that championship that he holds, the Resurrection Wrestling Internet Championship. And boy, this is going to be a dream match, and we're going to see it here coming up. And there you have it. It looks like Victor Thorne, maybe we are going to be having a chat after all, because if you're wrestling D'Angelo LaFlame, I absolutely want to be able to see what you can do, and I want to be able to talk about it with you. So hopefully we can make that happen. And Mr. Thorne, I certainly want to see that match, just like the good people of the Alliance Wrestling League and the good people of Sportswire Radio. So there you have it. Another breaking news story here. It just does not get any better than this. We've got D'Angelo LaFlame from Resurrection
Absolutely.
Wrestling working here, back in the Alliance Wrestling League, coming up against Victor Thorne. This is figuratively and literally, we're all wrestling matters. We want to thank Sky Felton, Hillbilly Tilly, and also our very good friends over at Joseph Tibbs and Ronnie Brady's Resurrection Wrestling. So he would like to say, you've made a good decision. It'll be a brutal beatdown for D'Angelo and yet another win for the Bishop. Well, I mean, I definitely want to talk about it. So, Victor, I'm looking forward to that. And yes, as I stated,
Absolutely.
Anthony is in the Indies, and I do want to pull it up here, which thank you for this. Okay, I can't pull this off the screen yet. And obviously, like I said, I think Anthony works in Resi and you work in Alliance Wrestling League, and I'll pull up some links in a second for that. But I want to come back to something else because you're going to be back in the ring coming up here against Hacksaw Brown for that new division championship. And I actually have the banner here, so give me about 2 seconds. I want to come back to this match. So there we have it here. So we see it here. You're going to be wrestling in the new division, the never-ending Workhorse Championship match against Hacksaw Brown. And I want to ask you then, for those that are listening and watching, what would it mean to you to be the new division champion? Should you win an Endgame against Hacksaw Brown, what would that mean to you for your career?
I think it's going to be the greatest first step that I can take into winning my first championship and being able to prove to everybody what a new division champion should look like, should be, and what a never-ending workhorse should be. I mean, winning that title and having that gold. If you remember back in the gauntlet match, I was handed the championship on a miscommunication. I was holding it the moment Tyson Gates walked into the ring, and it was just like a destiny moment for me that I just knew that one of these days here soon, I'm going to hold that gold. And I think an Endgame is going to be my moment, and I think I'm going to get to prove what a never-ending workhorse really is.
What do you want to say to Hacksaw Brown if he were watching and listening this?
Man, I'm not going to be a crap talker. I have nothing but respect for him. I can't wait to step in the ring with him. I haven't had many encounters with him as of yet, but I know that we're going to put on a great match and may the best man win.
That's it. Just the best man win. Nothing else. Nothing else you want to say?
It's about all I got to say until I step in that ring, Tom.
Do you think he'll feel the same?
I'm not really sure. We'll have to find out and see.
Well, we'll have to find out for sure. Okay, I'll take this off the
Absolutely.
screen. And we are on Sportswire Radio. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, and I want to give a couple of plugs here. First of all, before we do anything else, I'm going to be back here tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, with our live DJ. He is Andrew Lovelace, who's morphing into his professional DJ other role, which is as DJ Dirty White Boy. So if you want to hang out here on Sportswire Radio, we have an open mic, so it doesn't matter who you are right now. If you're Hunter Beast, if you're Anthony Steele, if you're anybody else out there, you want to come on down, you want to say a few things, you want to address people, you want to hear some music, you want to do a number of different things, you should certainly come on down here to Sportswire Radio. We're going to be playing your favorite music. I'm going to be dancing. I'm going to be saying a couple things. I may not be saying things too much over the music, but myself and Andrew Lovelace are going to be sharing some stories. Andrew was just hopping out with the likes of Kurt Angle, Ric Flair, Matt Riddle. He's also back in the ring coming up here at a couple different places. We're going to be talking about that. So if you want to come on down, hang out, have a good time on Sportswire Radio. Anybody is welcome. It doesn't matter who you are, who you work with. If you just want to hang out, share a few things with us on the air, we're letting everybody come on. It's an open mic. So we're here tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on all Sportswire Radio platforms. I'm going to be here Thursday night, 10 o'clock Eastern Time with Justin Parsley. Justin Parsley works for XCW, and I suppose he now works for the IMF, and he's going to be competing there for their World Heavyweight Championship against Soldier GP, and he's going to be here to be inducted into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame for a third time. Speaking of people that are in the South, I'm going to be here Friday night. I'm going to stay tuned on what I'm going to say for that tomorrow on the air. I'm going to be on the air Saturday night with Dalton Skulls. Dalton Skulls, of course, was one of the former owners of the PWF, which is the former Pride Wrestling Federation, which was formerly owned by Atomic Titan, which I own a portion of, alongside the likes of Omen Black, Soldier GP, Tristan Taylor from the UWA. He's going to be here at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. So we've got some great guests ahead. I hope you follow us, but we are here with CT Matlock of the Alliance Wrestling, who is the underdog of the AWL. Let me ask you this question, CT Matlock, in some other places, and just in terms of what would you like to say to anybody who should go out and watch you on this journey, and why should they support you?
Man, all I got to say is you're going to see great things from me. I'm destined to be the next biggest little man. I mean, I just feel it. I'm ready to make it happen. And if you go along this journey with me, you're gonna live out a great wrestling life, a great wrestling career, and you're gonna see me accomplish some things. And hopefully, you'll be able to vicariously live through me on this journey. And I hope that's what I can bring to the table if anyone decides and wants to follow me along this journey with me.
Fair point. I think that's certainly a reasonable infraction there. So we'll certainly see what comes to that. And let me ask you, though, when it comes to some other things in terms of being in the ring, and are there certain opponents that you like to wrestle out there, whether it's in the indies or you obviously AWL, we kind of have an idea of where you're going with Hacksaw Brown, Victor Thorne. There's still some unfinished business, but there's any other people out there that you would like to wrestle?
Man, I'm sure there's plenty. I'd like to get in the ring with Justin Flo. He's one of our champions over at Spartan Pro Wrestling. He's the heavyweight champion currently. I'd like to get in the ring more with a guy named Stefan Dunn. I'd like to get in the ring more with, yes, sir. Rome Sinju. He's another guy that's up and coming. That's an incredible talent. And I'd love to be in the ring with him more often. I've gotten to be in a couple matches with them along the way, but I'd like to see all the things, all the new things that we can come up with and do. And I think that we're going to put on some great matches in the future. There's, so many more guys that I can name. My brain is almost going blank trying to think of all of them. But there's so many guys that I cannot wait to step in the ring with coming up soon.
Absolutely, no question about that. I'm actually going to pull something up on the screen, and while I do that, this will actually, I believe, be one of the most recent times you were in the ring coming up here. And what do you remember about this? Here you are against Roman Senju and Stefan Dunn, and you were just in the ring with them. And walk me through about this. You're here in a cage wrestling. Very fascinating match here and experience. And talk to me about what we saw here at High Voltage Pro.
Man, as you can see right here in the beginning, you know, he was the big guy in this match. So me and Stefan decided to team up on him a little bit and try to take him out. You know, I mean, this was just all in all an incredible match. I mean, we put on some great work all around. In the end, Stefan Dunn did come out the winner. But, I mean, anyone wants to sit down and watch this match, it was absolutely incredible. I mean, nonstop action the entire time. It's just an insane match to watch and be a part of, and I was really excited to be there.
Is this one of the first matches you've had in a cage, or if not your first match in a cage? I'm curious on that for the audience.
This is actually my second match in a cage. My first was in Spartan Pro Wrestling's Warrior Chamber back in November of last year.
Okay.
I was in a big Rumble match in the cage, and I also didn't come out the winner, but it was a great match with a lot of different people in there. But this is my first match where it's just a three-way. I haven't been in a singles cage match just yet. But, yes, this is my second cage match, and, man, it was just an incredible time. It's almost surreal once you step inside that steel cage. I mean, you feel almost like an animal. I mean, it turns you into an animal. I mean, it's incredible.
I think
the feeling, the rush you get.
I think Guns N' Roses, the
yes,
first
absolutely.
Welcome to the Jungle. That's the first thing that comes to my mind in a cage. But let me ask you, though, when you go into a cage,
absolutely.
I'm not a wrestler. I know nothing about it, but is it a different preparation for going into a cage versus a regular match?
Oh, absolutely, man. You got to think, I mean, if you try to go out, there's no getting out. You're stuck in there. I mean, for the entirety of the match until someone either escapes, pins you, or submits you, you're in there. There's no getting away. There's no running to the outside, catching a breath. It's nonstop the entire time. And the preparation that you have to take in order to get ready for one of these matches is completely different. I mean, there's not much bouncing off the ropes you can do. It's all brute action. It's all brute force. And you're just trying to tear your opponent down using the cage, using your own power. I mean, it's an absolutely different animal than stepping in a regular ring. I mean, it's an insane experience. It really is.
Do you want to wrestle more matches in a cage?
Oh, absolutely. I have a hunger for hardcore action. I love hardcore style wrestling. I mean, if you go and you see my Instagram profile, there's a bunch of pictures where I'm bloody, where that wasn't even a sanctioned match. I was actually attacked.
On this platform, we've had on, I would say, figuratively and literally, some of the best hardcore and deathmatch wrestlers around.
One of absolutely.
Them, I would obviously say, we basically at this point is here so many times. He collects rent here on this platform. That is Mac 10, the Deathmatch Werewolf. Obviously, that's one. Kato was here a couple of days ago. He just competed in IWA Deep South Southern Outlaws. Some guy, Jimmy Controversy, I've mentioned. Obviously, hardcore. Name is hardcore. Obey, a man who literally carries a gun out there. Mikey Anarchy, who's the GTS hardcore champion. Jake Matthews, we mentioned, from NEW Underground Wrestling. I mean, I can keep going. I mean, you might want to say Atomic Titan. I would call him my hardcore king. And, there's a slew of other great hardcore and deathmatch wrestlers out there that we have on this platform extremely regularly. Radu Bulat from the UK and Jake Carnage, once upon a time, Necro Daddy. So it's interesting that you want to go into that lane, because we've had on, I would say, probably the best and most prolific hardcore and deathmatch wrestlers around here on Sportswire. And Omen Black.
Absolutely. Well, maybe I can get to talk to him.
And I got to mention Omen Black, because Omen Black, it's his show, and he's also the IMF hardcore champion, Ox McCoy. I mean, if I didn't mention Ox McCoy, if I didn't mention, obviously, my buddy Damian Saint, I mean, there's a lot of hardcore guys that are out there, and there's a list of them. So I got to throw those names in there as well. Ox McCoy, a man who's literally lives in blood. We've got also, again, Mr. Omen Black, the boogeyman of the Midwest, a hardcore god. So you'd maybe love to mix it up with some of those guys, huh?
Absolutely. I mean, I would love to take part in one of these hardcore style, deathmatch style matches. So if anybody wants to try to step in the ring with me, I mean, bring it my way. I'd love to get in talks with you, get in talks with your companies. I'd love to make something happen.
Interesting. Okay. Well, speaking of one of those people that is here, Mr. Mac 10 himself, the Deathmatch Werewolf, he's wrestled Jimmy Controversy. He's been in the ring with a whole slew of other people, and he's been in Carnage Cup, IWA. He's going to be wrestling Kato coming up here at Saturday Night Riot. And He's one of those names out
Right.
there, and I don't agree with that. I think Mac 10 is one of the best hardcore wrestlers in the world, and Mac 10 is always on this platform. I'm going to
Man, the
definitely say
shade.
it. I'm a Mac 10 fan. I like Mac 10 not just because he drinks Mountain Dew, because Mac 10 really does bring it out there. But I want to say hello to one of our favorites here on this platform.
Yeah.
He is a legend. He is Mr. Hardcore himself. He's going to be here, by the way, June 23rd, 6 o'clock Eastern time, talking about his journey. This man was a legend alongside Copper Dragon, who is obviously
Awesome.
our ambassador of backyard wrestling. He is the official scoring system of wrestling. He is our Dave Meltzer, and he says,
Right.
keep grinding and you will turn heads, young man. He can see it, and you're at the beginning of your career, but he wishes you a lot of luck. Thank you there. Mr. Harko always seems to be here on
Thank you,
Sportswire. He's
Christopher.
another man that, and Anthony Steele says he knows Stefan Dunn. What a small world.
Really? That's insane. That's really cool to hear.
Maybe then I think Hillbilly Tilly and Sky Felton should maybe reach out to Joseph Tibbs and maybe see if they would want to book Anthony Steele coming up
Absolutely.
at the end of the month. I think that would be an interesting idea. Maybe that's the way to go. If Hillbilly Tilly and Sky Felton are out there, maybe they should book Anthony Steele. Maybe they, could see him wrestle. People would love to see Anthony Steele wrestle out there. I, for one, would love to see Anthony Steele
I like the
wrestle
sound of that.
I would love it. I think
Absolutely.
Anthony Steele and Alliance Wrestling. I would love to see Mac 10 in Alliance Wrestling. I would love to see Listen, I would love to see. I'm going to say this now. I know that Tennessee Backyard Wrestling, Resurrection Wrestling, have had a fantastic relationship. We're peas in a pie. I would love to see, now that D'Angelo the Flame has been working in AWL, I would love to see more Resi guys. I would love to see Drake Golddragon in Alliance Wrestling. I would love to see Dustin Alexander, who's defeated Jimmy Controversy. I would love to see my buddy Cameron Cage in Alliance Wrestling. I would love to see Roddy Alpha. I would certainly love to see Drake Golddragon, who's the national champion, the longest reigning champion in Resurrection history. And, Resurrection Wrestling is like Alliance Wrestling. It certainly does live shows. I would even love to see Xavier Thorne in the Alliance Wrestling. So I think if there's a way that Sky Felton and Hillbilly Tilly can further work with Joseph Tibbs and the West Memphis Kid Ronnie Brady, I would love to see that happen. I don't know how that would be because I'm not a promoter. I know nothing about wrestling, but I would love to see that happen. I would love to see all those different things. And Anthony Steele has wrestled Stefan Dunn. What a small world there. And that's obviously the case. And
That's insane.
Well,
I love that.
Anthony knows a lot of people. Anthony has wrestled all over the place, and he certainly knows his game. And Drake Golddragon is in the house. How you doing? It's evening now, Mr. Golddragon. But I am going to bring Mr. Golddragon back on Sportswire. We will reschedule. I apologize. It's been a busy day, but I will get to you. Obviously, maybe this is Hacksaw Brown, because Hacksaw Brown seems to say there's some of those things to you. I don't know, but that could be that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with Anthony on all the things about Drake Dragon, but I will come back here and say hello to my friend Nicholas Crenton, who is from the great state of Wisconsin. He also wrestles for multiple promotions. He wrestles for the IMF and WCE, and he's also a hardcore wrestler. And if I didn't leave him out, I certainly should remember to bring him up. And he says, Reverend, good evening, and Mr. Matlock, good evening. So obviously, Mr. Crenton's going to be in the ring coming up here very soon. He's wrestling Ox McCoy as part of a tag team title match coming up, and he certainly heard that, and he wants to come in. But obviously, Nicholas was my guest about 2 weeks ago, and he says hello. And, some of the match here is going on, and we like to play matches. And, how you feeling as the longer this match goes on here? How do you feel?
Man, at this point, I'm definitely getting tired. Those cage matches, they take a lot out of you. At this point, I'm sure I was just gasping for air, tired as hell, trying to get this pin right here. But, I just continued to give it everything I had, even though I was tired, even though I was wore out. But at this point, I couldn't even tell you what I was thinking. All I had on my mind was getting that 3 count.
How are you able to stay in kind of the fight here, more or less? I mean, is there a kind of preparation? Is there a training that allows you to maybe get less tired? I'm just curious on that for the audience.
Man, work on your drills. If you don't do professional training and you haven't done professional wrestling drills for cardio, I mean, there are drills designed to wear you out just so you can be more comfortable being tired in the ring. Do your drills, continue your work, run, do all kinds of things that you can do just to continue to build up your cardio. Because if you have bad cardio, you're not going to last 5 minutes in a real professional wrestling ring because I mean it is a whole different animal. I mean, all I can say is running ropes, doing cardio drills, practicing your rolls, all sorts of stuff, man. It's just a big amalgamation of different things to increase your cardio.
What advice would you give to wrestlers watching or listening this that are going through the same thing as you for the transition in that and some of the things you talked about? What advice would you give?
If you're not already, actually getting professionally trained, I highly recommend it. Like I was talking about earlier, I know a lot of times work and time, it just gets in the way. But if you have the opportunity to go to a real wrestling school and get real professional wrestling training, that is one of the best things you can do because if not, you're just not going to understand what it truly takes to be in that ring. I mean, it's an absolute insane amount of cardio and willpower to continue going, especially after you get tired taking all of these blows and I mean it's almost like imagine running a mile while you're screaming your lungs out and I mean it's just
Well, I gotta
you
say,
really got to think about it. It's how it goes.
I gotta say, I was on the air 3 times today. I'm going on 5 hours. I'm probably one of those guys that's probably done
Yeah.
that figuratively and literally. So I mean, I'm on here 3
Oh,
times today.
absolutely. Not only that, your introduction, the way you just continue to keep going, I bet you'd have some pretty good in-ring cardio if you jumped in there.
I'm actually, it's funny. Guys tell me this all the time that come on the platform. I'm actually, I'm in very good shape. I mean, I've always exercised. I've always, I have a background in politics. I knocked on 15,000 doors in 1 year. I've always stayed in, really good shape. I mean, I'm one of these guys that,
Right.
I've really never done anything in terms of I've always been physical, but I've never been in the ring. I mean, I look good, but it doesn't mean, listen, Goldberg looked great, but sucked in the ring. I mean, it doesn't mean anything. But
Yeah, fair enough.
It means different things to different people. But obviously, Mr. Crenton would like to say more a all-around wrestler, mostly been dipping toes into the hardcore scene. But I do have something to say for you, and that is Mr. Hacksaw Brown. He is here live. And as a matter of fact, this is what Mr. Brown would like to say. I'm ready to go, Tilly. CT Matlock, welcome to my neck of the woods. I'll see you at Endgame. Ooh, he'll see you at Endgame. What do you say on that?
Yep. I'll see you at Endgame, buddy. I'm going to show him what a true lumberjack really does. I'm going to chop that tree down and get the 3 count.
You're gonna do that, huh?
Absolutely. You'll see it in the ring, my man. You'll see it in the ring.
Well, we're gonna have to find out, and also we'll certainly see. We have more shows coming up here when it comes to Endgame, and also if you want to go out and watch the show, but also see the poster, you can do that here. And there's the poster. There's the champion. There you are, and that's what's gonna come up here. And that'll be for Endgame. Endgame will be on the Alliance Wrestling League YouTube page at Alliance Wrestling League. And Hacksaw Brown has been extremely impressive, though. Hacksaw Brown, what he did to Seth Maverick and Tyson Gates. And Hacksaw Brown is certainly an up-and-comer, and he's got a lot of momentum right now.
Yeah, man. I think he's got a lot of potential. Like I said, I'm not one to talk crap. I respect Hacksaw Brown. I respect him as a person and as a champion. And I can't wait to step in that ring and see what he's all about.
If he implied it the way you're coming across as if you're timid, what would you say to that?
Man, I'm not really too sure. I just...
Because that's how he's interpreting it right now. He said, in his words, climb the mountain, little buddy. We'll just see.
All right, I'm going to climb that mountain. We'll see you at the top, buddy. We'll see you at the top, Hacksaw.
Are you a giant killer then?
You can consider me that. For sure.
So you're going to pull off what Rey Mysterio did to this guy named Kevin Nash once upon a time on Monday Nitro 25 years ago, where he beat him in the middle of the ring and pinned him 1, 2, 3. Are you saying you're going to do the same thing to Hacksaw Brown?
I'm going to try my hardest, man. He's a tough guy. He's a tough opponent. I'll give him that. But I'm going to do everything I can, everything in my power to go home with that gold.
Well, we'll certainly find out. And, of course, again, Alliance Wrestling League is on YouTube at Alliance Wrestling League, AWL_wrestling on Instagram, TikTok. They're on X at AWL_wrestling_. Also, CT Matlock, if you want to follow him, you can do that here on Instagram. He's ct.matlock.official. Anthony Steele also would like to point out that he definitely like to hit you up, and I'm going to put CT's Instagram up here on the screen shortly in a second. So I'll do that. Hang on tight for that. And obviously, I think you have somebody. Did you not sign an autograph for somebody? Because it seems to me like you maybe met somebody that
I
was
don't
not a
know.
fan of yours. But there's definitely somebody out there that feels that way. But Mr. Brown would like to further say, I'll be waiting. You've got my respect. I've seen what you can do. I'm down to get on the ring and give the people a show. All right. That's a fair statement.
We'll give him a show. We will give him a show. That's for sure, man.
And the floor is always welcome to Mr. Brown and also to Mr. Thorne. Anybody else in the AWL? As a matter of fact, anybody else on Sportswire Radio. We try to give the floor to everybody here. We're about all wrestling matters. And I want to take this off the screen very quickly. And I want to give a plug to something else, which I want to do, especially for all of our yarders and undergrounders here, as we've got a little bit more time here. I want to support our friends over at Boneyard Productions. Why is Boneyard Productions important? Because if you want your own custom theme, if you want to have the look and feel to the way you want to go out in terms of your character and everything else you want to do, that's their link. That's their YouTube page. They're the Jim Johnson of underground and backyard wrestling themes. They've created themes for the likes of, obviously, IWA's Deep South Southern Outlaws, Jay Wild, the brand new TBW champion, our Hardcore King, the TBW Hardcore champion, Atomic Titan, and a slew of others. So if you want to get your own music, hit up our friends at Boneyard Productions. They're at YouTube there. And like I said, there's the Jim Johnston recreated for us. And like I said, the most important part to your character is music, entrances to get that look and feel. And that's what you need. So go out there and tell them Sportswire Radio and the Reverend Tom Bryce sent you, and our friends at Resurrection Wrestling have been working with them, TBW and so many others. So if you're in AWL and elsewhere, go out there and please hit that sub button to our friends at Boneyard Productions and tell them we sent you here. And also, Anthony Steele would like to say, me for the indies, I'll buy an indie promotion. I can tell you that much. I mean, I've got the funds for that. So if there's an indie promotion for sale, I mean, I'm definitely interested in buying an indie promotion. I can tell you that much. I'm more than happy to buy an indie promotion. So if an indie promotion's on sale, hit me up and let me know. That I'm interested in for sure. I'm interested on the business side of things.
Absolutely.
That would be another wrestler that I won't name names. There's a wrestler that's been on this, that has made a cameo on this platform, that had a brown stain in his pants. But I think we can all agree that wrestling etiquette should be always good hygiene, and that wrestler doesn't have good hygiene. But let's certainly come back. Yeah, definitely. Oh, there's a lot of things I could say on that individual, but we're here in prime time, and we've got a professional wrestler here, not an amateur wrestler. That the guy who had a brown stain on his pants. But I do want to put this up for the audience, because obviously this is what we're going to see coming up here at Endgame. We've got it here thanks to management here of the Alliance Wrestling League. It's going to be D'Angelo the Flame against Victor Thorne, the Energy of Pro Wrestling versus the Bishop of Brutality. You can see that on the Alliance Wrestling League YouTube channel. You can also get more information from them on Instagram, TikTok, you name it. They've got it. Please support our friends over at the Alliance Wrestling League. And there you have it. D'Angelo the Flame versus Victor Thorne. You got the news here first on Sportswire Radio, and I'm looking forward to this match. D'Angelo the Flame has been the guy that's kind of nipping at Jack Delta's heels. Victor Thorne is a guy that's been established in a number of different places, like Spartan Pro Wrestling as well, and he's had a lot of success here in the AWL, and I think it's going to be a big test. I mean, D'Angelo the Flame's got a lot of momentum, but I think it's a match a lot of people can see, and a lot of people will get a chance to see that match in the Alliance Wrestling League. And I like to see more Resurrection guys wrestle in the AWL. But in the meantime, I want to thank, obviously, Hillbilly Tilly, Sky Felton, Joseph Tibbs, and Ronnie Brady for making sure the fans win, because that's what it's about, breaking those doors down and giving the people what they want. It's not about the same old politics, the same old matches, the same old intellectual dishonesty, the same old things that nobody sees. This is about giving the people what they want. And this is something we're going to get a chance to see here. D'Angelo the Flame and Victor Thorne. D'Angelo the Flame is maybe the biggest rising star right now in the yard, in the underground. Victor Thorne is up and coming in his own right. We get a chance to see that here firsthand. And also, if you want to follow CT Matlock, before I get to some other thoughts very quickly, you can catch him here on Instagram. There you go. So if you want to get in touch with him, that's his Instagram. He's certainly trying to defy the odds. We'll see if he defies them coming up here at Endgame and also other places. He is the next biggest little man in the business. We'll certainly see all of that if it comes to fruition. But in the interest of time, I want to ask you a couple of things here first. What would you say in terms of what Spartan wrestling means to you?
Man, Spartan wrestling means just about everything to me. I would give them the benefit of the doubt that they pretty much saved my life. They gave me purpose again. They allowed me to become confident in myself once again. Feel like I belong somewhere again. Because like I said, the longest time I was sitting in that crowd watching them, just kind of basically still dreaming about joining and not really thinking that I was actually going to make it. But I remember one day just waking up and just deciding to make the decision that I'm going to go there and I'm going to start my wrestling career. And the friends that I've made, the people that I've met, the places that I've gone because of Spartan Pro Wrestling has just been absolutely insane. I mean, almost unfathomable. I would have had no idea that this was where my life was going to be going a year or two ago. I mean, Spartan really has changed my life, and I'm grateful for every single person there. And I'm proud, absolutely 100% proud to be able to be a part of Spartan.
Can you, I don't know, I don't put this in the right words, but you talked about wrestling and particularly Spartan Pro Wrestling saved your life. What do you mean by that?
Man, to be completely honest, I was in a really low place, going through a lot of different things that I'm not really going to get into on here. But I was just really close to not wanting to be here anymore. And when I decided that I was going to finally put my past behind me and make my dream come true, Spartan and everybody that was a part of Spartan was there to lift me back up and allow me to follow my dream and really kind of build my life back to where I wanted it to be.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because our guest to kick things off today, and again, this has been quite a day on Sportswire Radio, was a guy, the Tribal Cheese, who's a very well-known and respected wrestler in the British independent scene. He is a actual legitimate influencer on YouTube, TikTok. He's had millions of views. He's probably, I would say, one of the top 2 or 3 draws in British independent wrestling. And he talked about his own battle with mental health, and it's actually forced him to step away from the ring. So I wanted to put it out there, since you had talked about those things. If you ever need anything, obviously we're here on this platform. We're always available. You can reach out anytime. But also the Tribal Cheese, he famously actually stepped away from the ring publicly after a match he had and talked about his own battles. So it is a real thing. It is certainly a real thing for people, and we don't want people to feel ever that they have to go through those things. So anybody can reach out to me. And I'm glad you're doing well. Everything is good right now. You feeling good right now?
Absolutely, man. I'm in quite literally the happiest point of my life.
Good. We want to make sure we don't want anybody to feel that way here on this platform. We take that very seriously. You know, the Tribal Cheese.
I appreciate that very much.
We do. And obviously, I'm sure that Skyfelt and Hillbilly Tilly will be there for you as well, and anybody else that you work for. So we want to also make it here known on this platform that we take that very seriously. And the Tribal Cheese is a role model. He showed a lot of courage, what he did. And, if you do feel that way again, he's at Big Cheese Logan on Instagram. Don't feel like you have to hesitate to get in touch with him. You just tell him that I sent you, but we're glad that you're doing well here. Okay, so obviously we got that out of the way.
Thank you.
We got social medias out there. We're pretty much toward the end of the show. But let me ask you a couple of things here first. Is there 1 or 2 moments that stand out most in your career so far?
1 or 2 moments that stand out most. Probably one of the biggest ones was my first and honestly only win at Spartan Pro Wrestling up to this point. I won the 2023 King of Christmas Battle Royale.
I saw that on Instagram.
And I'm sure Victor Thorne doesn't want me to mention it, but I was actually in the final 3 with him and his tag team partner Zod. And the ending of the match was they began to charge at me. I dropped down and they both went over the top rope and I won. And I was able to have that moment where, I finally got that one big win, and I'm glad that I got that moment at Spartan, and it was much greater knowing that the final two people that I eliminated was that old Victor Thorne guy and his buddy. That felt pretty good to me. And
So that's why he's upset at you then all this time, huh?
I really think so. I think he holds the grudge. I think it upset him that I got that win, and at this point, he just continues to bash me and come after me because he's upset about that. But that's okay with me because I have that win and he does not. So, what can you say?
Fair enough. Okay, that's a big moment. There's no question that is a very big moment.
Absolutely,
Is there another moment that
absolutely.
stands out?
Probably my first cage match at the Warriors Chamber in 2023. That was back in November. And the reason that stood out the most is because I was so young in my career. I was only at this point 3 months into my wrestling career, and I got the opportunity to step into a cage match. And to me, that was something that was almost otherworldly. It wasn't even in my thought process or in my mind. But the moment I got word that I was going to be able to step into a cage match for the very first time, it was like, it was like a light bulb. It was such a cool moment, and I'm extremely grateful that I got to be a part of that.
I'm going to ask you a question that I think is obviously the most obvious one, and I don't even know if people are going to get this reference or not, but you have a last name of Matlock. Are you related to Matlock?
I'm not, man, but the reason that I used that name is when I was younger, we didn't really have all the cable TV or anything. We used those TV antennas, and we had
I grew
CW21
up
on there.
in New York. I vaguely remember when I was very, very little. We're talking like very little. That I remember
Exactly.
my father having one of those TVs with the big long antenna. I mean, we're talking like
Right.
I had to have been like 4, maybe 5. We're talking like like
Exactly.
almost 30
Right.
years ago. It's a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But we had one of those TV antennas, and we didn't get that many channels, but CW21 was one of them. And for some reason, my mom loved to watch Matlock. And for some reason, growing up, that was just a really cool name to me. I just really liked it. I thought it sounded cool. I thought it sounded mean. And that's why I adopted it as my last name for professional wrestling.
Well, I would advise you on one thing, though. Don't come out to that theme music, though. It's certainly not a wrestling theme.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That would be hilarious. I might do that one day just for fun.
Well, maybe if it's a parody, but not to come out to that for sure. Okay, you're not related to Matlock. I thought that would be a fun one.
No, sir. I sure am not.
And if you are out there for us on Sportswire Radio, please hit that sub button for us. So if you're Hacksaw Brown for the first time or Victor Thorne, you want to get in touch with us, hit that sub button for me. I'm at Sportswire Radio 6579. We just surpassed actually today 700 subscribers. So we just hit 700. Actually,
that's awesome.
That is awesome. It's been the best. Like the last 4 weeks, we've hit it's a ridiculous amount of views. I think it's like in the last 30 days, it's like almost 5,000. The last 60 days, it's like 8,000 or 9,000. So people are definitely
that is awesome, man.
Doing well, and we want Alliance Wrestling to do well. So definitely hit the sub button. From they're almost at 500. Remember when AWL first started? Now they're at 500 almost. So let's get them over the finish line.
Incredible.
We all win. Everybody wins. All wrestling matters. Let's go out there and support.
You're right.
Okay, so let me ask you then. One more question before closing thoughts. Do you have any final words for Hacksaw Brown?
Man, I don't think I do. I think I'm going to have to sit and think on it, and I'm just going to meet him in the ring, and we're going to see what we can do, and I'm going to see if I can walk out with that New Division Championship. I'll see you there, buddy.
Okay, all right. Well, you know what? I'll ask you one bonus since you kind of didn't answer that, but answered it, if that makes sense. You also have certainly bulked up a little bit right before, obviously, the name change and such. And was that also a coincidence, or is that a part of what you were talking about earlier and getting yourself in conditioning for more matches, cardio, different types of stipulations? Do you want to talk about how basically your physique is improved?
Man, like I said, I've always been a super skinny guy, but as you've noticed, I've started to put on a little more, and that's all because of how hard my trainer pushes me, how hard I push myself when I'm at home doing workouts. All the drills and work that we do in the ring on training days. I mean, you have to try to not get in shape if you do that kind of work. I mean, we do it twice a week, and we go through the ringer, man. We really put that work in, whether it's in ring training or just regular body training. I mean, we really put in the work, and it's definitely starting to show. I've been trying my best to put on some weight, put on some muscle mass, because I know I'm a small guy. I know I don't have that big of a stature, but I want to look the part of a professional wrestler. So
Oh, you
I'm
do.
really
Even the
working hard
commentary
and
in
putting that work.
AWL brought it up that you've basically become shredded almost. You went from when you debuted
Absolutely.
here at the start of the year, right around the end of last year, to what you've kind of
Right.
come into your own. The physique is improved. There's no question about that. Your physique has
Absolutely.
improved a
I
lot.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Well,
And
that,
I'm telling you, man, it's just all that work we put in the ring. It'll get you in shape whether you like it or not. I promise.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to also the match that we're going to see here coming up at Endgame. It is going to be for
Yeah.
that new division championship, the never-ending workhorse championship. We're going to see it here, and it's going to be
Yes.
released on the AWL's YouTube page sometime in July. It's going to be Hacksaw Brown, the current champion, against CT Matlock. He is the challenger, and Hillbilly Tilly granted that request. We're going to see that coming up here, as well as D'Angelo the Flame is going to take on Victor Thorne, the Bishop of Brutality, versus the Energy of Wrestling, plus more matches to come. You can go to the Alliance Wrestling League's page to find out more information. And I'm looking forward to more AWL coverage. ADT is in the house next Friday night
Absolutely.
live in prime time. We're going to have more coverage here, and that's also what ADT would like to say. So that's where my trend stash went. I don't know what the trend stash reference is. Anybody know? Is there a trend stash reference that I'm
Oh
missing?
man.
No, I don't know what
Oh,
the
I
reference.
don't know. I don't know.
Is that an
That's
inside
funny though. That's
baseball joke
funny.
that I don't know? Okay, fair enough. Maybe ADT will clarify that. But he's in the house next Friday. So if you want to come out and hang out
Yeah.
with us,
Yeah.
ADT is here next Friday. And I'm looking forward. It'll be 8 o'clock Eastern time. ADT is here in prime time. He's going to talk about Endgame. He's going to talk about what he's up to. Going to talk about maybe his
Yep.
experiences with ROEW. Obviously, you were in the locker room there in ROEW, and I'm sure he'll talk more about that. And I'm not going to ask you about ROEW versus AWL because we kind of touched upon that a little bit. Oh, he said he was kidding. I see. It was the reference about you being shredded, but I didn't get the reference.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know
Trend's
what?
a weird steroid. It's a
I gotta be
right.
honest. You know what it is? I gotta be honest. I have been on the air literally now. If somebody's counting, it's about like almost 5 hours. Just about either 5 or over 5 hours. So at this point, it
Wow.
just well, you just keep doing it. The
Oh
people seem
man,
to
I
like
get it.
it. You know the deal.
Yep.
And let me say a little
I
couple of
understand. I understand.
the icon Jack Spade, who's from Resurrection Wrestling. Of course, he is our icon. Says great show tonight. Thank you, Jack, for your support. Jack is
Absolutely.
one of the goats all time in the yard and the underground. Mr. Jack Backyard Wrestling, who is here on Sunday night, says AWL has been going great. Absolutely, I agree with you on that. And of
Absolutely.
course, TBW has a great relationship with Resurrection. I'd love to see AWL and TBW work together. It's obviously up to again Felton, Tilly, and obviously Josh and the gang over there. We have also TBW
Right.
going into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame July 3rd, 10 o'clock Eastern time. So I look forward to inducting the company. Also, Hillbilly Tilly said random drug testing starts on Monday, by the way, guys. So you guys have random drug
I'm
testing.
natural, I swear. I am natural, I swear.
Well, we're gonna find out because you know what? We'll find out on Sportswire. So if I find out that you failed a drug test, I find out that Hacksaw Brown did, or certainly Victor Thorne or anybody else, the war criminal Dylan Andrews, AJ Morgan who's back, or Seth Maverick, Tyson
Uh-huh.
Gage, Christopher James. I'm sure we're gonna get the word on Sportswire about that, and also
Absolutely. I want the results from every single person live on
ADT
the
was
radio.
like, oh boy, ADT was like, he's like, oh boy, we're gonna now have steroid testing here, and I want to say hello to
Oh
one of
man, they're
my
gonna
friends.
find us out.
Well, you know what? I didn't really, I never asked, in 5.5 years I'm doing this, I never asked on Sportswire if we've done steroid testing in our backyard, underground companies, but I'm certainly not going to go out and poke the bear.
We should probably start. We should probably start.
I'm going to say no comment on that. I do want to say hello to one of our listeners out there in Brooklyn, New York, Angela. Angela's tuned in. How you doing, Angela? Nice to speak with you. This is my 5th hour on the air, so I'm going to say thank you for joining, Angela. You've missed quite a show. We had certainly to kick things off earlier today, the Tribal Cheese from the UK get inducted into the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, talk about his own mental health battle famously. Earlier in the evening, we had on Beast, who is the caretaker of the Prophecy, who just took over the Tennessee Backyard Wrestling World Heavyweight Championship. We also had a few things announced there. And to close out tonight, we've had on none other than Mr. CT Matlock, who's now going to be squaring off for the new division championship in the Alliance Wrestling League at Endgame, coming up against Hacksaw Brown. So we're looking forward to all of that here. You got the promo poster there. Hacksaw Brown is going to be taking on CT Matlock for that new division, which is the never-ending Workhorse Championship, and it certainly is the standard bearer. ADT did such a great job for it there, and he's the guy in the yard, I would say, that's right up there as the best pound for pound, mano a mano. I mean, the guys in Michigan, they found out what ADT brings to the table, so we certainly know CJ Black has found that out, and others have certainly found. They've seen it firsthand, so we thank everybody for that, and I think that's I'm looking forward to all that. All right, so I want to give you the floor. I want to give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you'd like to plug, share, or say, my friend? And hopefully you don't go out now and watch reruns of Matlock, but rather get back to training, go out there and get ready to maybe claim your first major championship, the new division championship against Hacksaw Brown, and we'll see you out there in the ring very soon. And the floor is yours, and I pass the baton to you.
Guys, make sure you go follow AWL on all of our platforms. Stay tuned for Endgame June 29th. It's going to be an insane show. You're not going to want to miss it. Follow Spartan Pro Wrestling. Go to SpartanProWrestling.com, Spartan Wrestling 1 on Instagram. Make sure to follow me on everything to stay up to date on everything that's going on. And I'm telling you guys, it's going to be a great time coming up. It's going to be a great month for wrestling, and I'm excited to see how everything goes down.
Absolutely, no question about that. If you want to follow CT Matlock, that is his Instagram page. So definitely, you'll defy the odds by supporting this man. He is the next biggest little man in the business. You can also see some more information. Titan Slam is coming up on June 29th. You got that here. You can also, even if you want, play him in 2K24. How about that? You're going to play CT Matlock, go and play 2K24. So if you're out there, you can go check him out. So you can find out here. That's a pretty cool thing.
Download now.
That's right. Do it out there. Go out there and support, but also support our friends over at the Alliance Wrestling League. Episode 32 is out. Go check them out. They're on AWL Wrestling. That's their YouTube and Instagram pages. It's directly connected through the link tree right there. That's their Instagram, AWL_wrestling. And in fact, as a matter of fact, I'm going to pull it up here also for merchandise. You want to buy a shirt, want to buy an AWL shirt, you can do that here as well, right here through the T Public store. Sometimes you get a discount. You get 30% off, so maybe wait. If you want to wait a week, you'll certainly get that chance. It'll be, instead of $22, you'll pay $16, 26 is $18, whatever else comes out in the math. That's some shirts. Also get your own CT Matlock shirt. And my friend, this was a lot of fun.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking forward to seeing you here. Maybe let's see after Endgame. Let's see maybe bringing you back on after Endgame, and we'll get a chance to talk with you and see what else is going on out there. And I want to thank you so much for your time. And it's been a great day on Sportswire. I think we had the most views we've ever had in one single day. That's because I've been on so much. Maybe that's a part of it. But I want to just say good luck out there. I'm sure Mr. Brown will certainly have some thoughts of his own. And we'll see you out there soon. And keep up the good work. Keep plugging away.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. It was a great time, and I appreciate the conversation.
Oh, we sure did. We had a lot of fun here. Absolutely no question about all of that. That is, of course, CT Matlock, who is the underdog of the Alliance Wrestling League, and he'll be next in the ring for the Alliance Wrestling League. Coming up here at Endgame, he'll be squaring off against Hacksaw Brown for that new division championship. Also announced tonight, our good friend D'Angelo, who is everywhere. He is back in the Alliance Wrestling League. He is wrestling against Victor Thorne, the Bishop of Brutality, and we'll certainly see what else happens. Also, ADT is back in the house this coming next Friday. He'll be here next Friday night. And speaking of things, this coming Wednesday, which is tonight, New York time, or also tomorrow in Alabama time. And I'm going to have a live DJ. So if you want to hear some music throughout the evening, all day tomorrow from 7:30 p.m. on, our live DJ Dirty White Boy, Andrew Lovelace, and I are going to be talking our favorite wrestling stories, open mic. If you want to come back, CT Matlock, hang out, say a few things, or anybody else that's here tonight, you're welcome to come on and pop in and chat and give your thoughts. We're We're going to be talking about who knows what else is on our mind. So it's all night open mic. Whatever you want to say. We have a live DJ
Thank
all
you.
night tomorrow, and also support our friends over at the Alliance Wrestling League. And Angela said she'll check out the show. Yeah, I was on 3 times today, so you might want to as well check them out because I literally have no voice after this. I'm going to probably maybe I will pass out, probably not, but I'm going to definitely take a break until 7:30 tomorrow. So my phone is not going to be talking to anybody. But thank you, everybody. Please support CT Matlock. He's on Instagram, AWL, all their links below. And I want to thank Hillbilly Tilly, Sky Felton for their support of the platform. And until then, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. On the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters. And thank you, CT Matlock. Good luck out there, and I'll see everybody, depending on where you are tonight or tomorrow, with Andrew Lovelace, the resident DJ of Sportswire Radio. And stay tuned